I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Canon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
Before we get to our main feature, we do have a bit of a downer, a bit of bad news that came out very recently. Kiki, you want to go? You want to read the article on that one?
Yeah, sadly, the news came through just before we're recording this that unfortunately Samuel E. Wright, who is best known to Disney fans as the voice of Sebastian the Crab in The Little Mermaid, has passed away. He was 74 at the time of his death. It is said that he died peacefully in his home in the town of Walden, New York. He had been battling prostate cancer, according to his daughter, Dee. He did go peacefully, according to the family. What a talent. Started out on Broadway in Jesus Christ Superstar. Did Pippin. A lot of people don't know it, but he did Mufasa in The Lion King on Broadway as well.
Yeah, original Broadway cast.
Yeah, another Disney connection there. Got 2 Tony nominations, one for something called The Tap Dance Kid, and then another for Mufasa in The Lion King.
Yeah, I shared him on social media, but I remember on the Disney Channel he did 2 concert specials. I remember one was called Sebastian's Party Gras. I just remember watching that all the time on the Disney Channel back in the day. He did 2 albums as Sebastian the Crab for Disney, and he really embraced that character so much.
You know, the interesting thing is that people used to ask him if he was upset to be kind of known as Sebastian. You know, when you become known as some big iconic character like that, people always go like, well, are you upset that, you know, you're a great theater actor and everything, and now people are going to be like, hey, aren't you the cartoon crab? But he had the greatest quote for that. He said, and this is a quote, "Maybe not every actor would say this, but if I didn't want to be immortal, I wouldn't be acting. I do want to make my mark on the world. An actor's worst nightmare is to hear 10 years from now, Sam Wright. Who was Sam Wright?" If you have that kind of attitude, you tend to take each role and you make it the best role you ever done. You don't know what people are going to judge you by. It doesn't matter if it's a cartoon, Dizzy Gillespie, or Othello. I'm going to play it with the same fervor, just in case anybody's watching. What a man.
Good advice.
As long as there's humans, I think everybody's going to know who Sebastian the Crab is.
Yeah.
What a legacy.
Yeah.
Everybody should be so lucky. Bless you, Sam. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. All right. As this episode is being released, it is Memorial Day. And what better way to celebrate Memorial Day with a great American hero like Captain America? This was another one of those characters that really, especially at the time this movie was coming out, the people were kind of wondering, can you do Captain America in the modern day? People were asking that about Superman. Can you do Superman in today's environment? Can you do Captain America in today's environment? And Marvel made the great decision of making this a period piece set in World War II.
Captain America has a really interesting history. When Captain America came out, Marvel wasn't even Marvel. Marvel was called Timely Comics. And we weren't even in World War II yet. Captain America predates Pearl Harbor. And yet, what is the major image you always think of when you think of Captain America?
Punching Hitler on the cover of that first comic book.
Yeah, but that first comic book came out before we were even in the war.
And that wasn't a popular decision by a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like the idea of insinuating that America would get involved with the war.
Yeah. A lot of people don't remember that right about that same time, we actually had, Nazi rallies in Madison Square Garden. America didn't consider Germany our enemy. We weren't against the Nazis as a nation. We were hosting, envoys from Germany in the White House because we weren't at war with them. The thing is that most of the staff of Timely Comics were made up of Jewish writers.
Stan Lee was Jewish. Let's just put that out there.
I mean, he was Stanley Lieber. I mean, it was, but most of them were. Most of the writers and artists at Timely were. And they were hearing from their family and from people that they knew back in Europe, from people that were fortunate enough to be escaping at the time, that were ending up in America before we closed our borders to refugees, of what was going on. And they decided that they couldn't sit still anymore, and they created Captain America to kind of kick America in the butt and tell them, like, hey, we're overlooking a massive threat. Hitler's not just a threat to Poland or, France maybe, or some of these other European states. He will do something to America if we don't wake up. And they planned a comic where this, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, very Aryan-looking man is on the cover punching Hitler as Hitler plans an attack on the United States. This was a very political move.
Very similar to Superman, again, being created by Jewish creators as a way to kind of send a very similar message.
Yeah. And this got them shut down because of death threats. There were bomb threats called into the Timely office. People found out where they lived, threatened their families. I think it was Jack Kirby, actually, somebody called in and said, if you were man enough, you'd come down and fight me. And Jack Kirby's like, what do you look like? I'll be right down there. Like, threatened to go down and punch the man. That happened a few times, I believe. The point being, they knew what they were doing with Captain America, okay? People who say, like, Marvel has suddenly got political, Marvel was political before it was even Marvel, okay? These people knew what they were doing. But because of the way Captain America started, once America finally entered the war after Pearl Harbor, oh, weird, Hitler and his allies actually really were planning attacks on America. Gee, wasn't that an interesting thing to have ended up on a comic in March 1941?
But after that, Captain America skyrocketed in popularity.
Yeah, Captain America became the most popular thing to send to the troops overseas.
There was even Captain America serials. Like, there's in this movie, you see Captain America making movies. They actually did, and I believe all of the serials are on YouTube right now. You can see those old 40 serials of Captain America.
And he became a massive propaganda tool, as you see in the movie. As you see in this film, he was the image used to sell war bonds, He was put up on propaganda posters. He was a recruitment tool. I mean, yeah, this it just kind of, he wasn't a real guy, but the image of Captain America was used all throughout the war to boost American morale. And so he was very much a character of his time and place because he was created for this specific purpose. Well, after the war, it kind of dipped, because what do you do with a character built to fight Hitler when there's no more Hitler?
Mm-hmm.
And so after the war, he kind of dipped, and then, well, in Vietnam, he kind of has a resurgence, and then you kind of dip again, and then, especially after the Vietnam War, when everybody's kind of disillusioned with American imperialism and war profiteering and stuff, and, we get the rise of heroes like Iron Man, well, then we start getting interesting storylines about, Tony Stark being the disillusionment with war profiteering, and Captain America being the symbol of American imperialism and war, and, that's kind of where we get the idea of the Civil War storylines and stuff like that. But then Captain America sees a resurgence after 9/11, because again, we've got the ultra patriotism, and you start to see it being used as a recruitment tactic again. You start seeing Captain America shields showing up on, people's cars, and especially around military people and stuff. Soldiers wearing Captain America t-shirts and stuff like that, at least the nerdier ones. Then, by the time this movie comes out, that's kind of waned again.
And one of the big questions was, would a non-American country even have a movie called Captain America in their theaters?
Yeah. So I think the only thing you can do is make it a period piece. Is take it back to the glory days of fighting Hitler. Because that's about the only thing at the time that everybody could agree on. Because in 2011, at least we could still agree that Hitler was bad.
Yeah. And this is not
the good old days when we could still agree that Hitler was bad.
And this was not the first attempt at a Captain America movie. Like I've mentioned, there was the serials in the 1940s. There was the Red Brown movies in the 1970s. I
will fight anybody that says those Red Brown movies aren't awesome. I've got them on DVD on my shelf just for the right.
The fact that they went and got Red Brown to do a cameo in this movie is amazing.
I love Red Brown. I will fight anybody over Red Brown.
And there was the 90s Captain America movie where the Red Skull is Italian for some reason.
Yeah, the less said about that one, the better.
Only 3 countries decided not to call this movie Captain America. That would be Russia, South Korea, and the Ukraine, which just called the movie The First Avenger. Fair. I mean, that's all I'll say on that one.
The interesting thing to me is that I really like, we're bringing the themes that we talked about, how the Hulk movie kind of started peppering some of those themes into the MCU. We're bringing all those themes to the forefront, and we're putting big, flashing, blinking neon lights around them in this movie.
Yeah, and not just the super soldier stuff,
Yeah, we're putting those forefront, and we're just staking a claim and saying this is what we're making the MCU about from now on.
There's even a nice reference that as soon as the super soldier serum goes inside Steve, his eyes just jolt open the same way Bruce does when he turns into the Hulk.
Yeah, it's the little touches that I like that we're not forgetting the movie. Like, we, unfortunately, because we spend so much of this film in the 40s, we basically have to introduce an entirely new cast.
So let's start with Cap himself, Chris Evans.
Yeah, Chris Evans, interestingly, not his first foray into the Marvel universe, although not under Disney. The point being, Chris Evans was in the Fantastic Four movies prior to being Captain America. He was also in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World as one of the evil X's, and was really good at it.
Yeah.
After playing Captain America, he also ended up in Snowpiercer, another really good comic book movie. And then recently did an amazingly good turn in Knives Out.
I love that in the trailer they had him swearing, and then all of the comments are there said Cap language.
Yeah, that was good. Also, he before being Captain America, he was in the TMNT movie, which I never watched because
the CG
awful.
animated.
Yeah, it looked awful.
Right.
I don't know if it was because I never saw it. But anyway, moving on, because we got a lot of these to get through. So playing the jerky colonel, I think is his rank. Yeah, the jerky colonel who is just a jerkety jerk through the entire jerkin film. Tommy Lee Jones.
Who is Tommy Lee Jones playing Tommy Lee Jones?
Well, I mean, hopefully Tommy Lee Jones isn't a complete jerk in real life. I don't know. I've never met him, but hopefully
he tends to play
he plays jerks. Hopefully he's not an actual jerk.
I don't hope.
But yeah, he played a jerk in The Fugitive, and he played a bit of a jerk in Men in Black, and bit of a jerk in No Country for Old Men.
Also, no stranger to comic book movies because he was Two-Face.
Yeah, he was Two-Face. I heard he was a bit of a jerk to Jim Carrey behind the scenes in that one.
Well, his side of the story is that Jim Carrey was just annoying.
Well, okay, I can get that. But yeah, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones. You gotta make me explain Tommy Lee Jones to you. Come on, it's Tommy Lee Jones. I'm not going to
speaking of people who we shouldn't talk about, Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving. You want to do Hugo Weaving next as Red Skull?
Yeah.
Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, leader of Hydra, our bad guy for this movie. He's Elrond. He's Agent Smith.
He's Megatron.
But he's not, though. I mean, he played a character. They called that character Megatron, but he's not Megatron.
But for these kind of movies, like he always, after the fact, he always complains about how he didn't enjoy himself making the movie. Like he didn't enjoy himself working on Transformers. He didn't enjoy working on Captain America. It's like, then why are you making these blockbuster movies if you constantly don't enjoy working on them?
Yeah, why are you an actor? Go home. Go.
Do smaller movies. Do, artsy movies if that's your thing. Don't do action movies if you're not having fun doing action movies.
But can we also talk about his amazing role in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
For it.
I mean, he's Tick in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Come on. Which is possibly the first thing I ever saw him in. Mm. And then he showed up in The Matrix. As our wonderful, amazing Agent Carter, who would go on to wonderful, bigger, and better things. We have the lovely Hayley Atwell, who is just gorgeous in everything she does.
Yeah.
I just love seeing her. I saw her recently where she played just the most vile character, and I was still like, I want to slap you, but I still want to hug you. She did a really interesting, for those of us who are geeks of a certain variety, just before she did Captain America, some of us saw her in AMC's very bizarre adaptation of The Prisoner with Jim Caviezel, which I think is the first thing I ever personally saw her in. She had been in some things over in England, but I think that was the first crossover thing that I saw her in America. She had done a lot of British theater, and she had done like a mini-series on BBC Two called The Line of Beauty that I did not see and had not really heard anything about. But the thing that I kind of went like, oh, okay, I've seen you in a thing was The Prisoner. And then she ended up not too long after that in Captain America. And then she kind of just kept on trucking. I just really, really kind of admire her, her choice of roles. She's picked some really interesting things, and I like some of the smaller things she did. The thing that I saw her in, where she was just so, such an evil villain character, was just this tiny little mini-series that I don't think that many people saw. I don't even remember the name of it. But it was just this kind of like tiny little independent thing that was only like 2 or 3 episodes long, and she was just so brilliant in it. And wasn't even the star. She was just kind of like a smaller part. So good. Moving on. Sorry. I really like her. She's so great. I just had to gush. Sebastian Stan gets to play Bucky. I'm really glad they didn't go with the like child Bucky. Thank you for not
the
going
teenage
that
sidekick.
There was the unfortunate Batman and Robin adult and teenage sidekick phase there, but they decided to do the 2 best friends of approximately the same age route with it, which I thank goodness that they did, because it's a really great dynamic, and I'm really glad we got to see it. We're getting more of it now. I'm glad that we get more of it now, but for so long we didn't really get a lot of good male bonding, good guy friends. I just like really good platonic friendship. But Sebastian Stan, he had been trucking along on Gossip Girl. Also, just came off of Black Swan right before Captain America. So he was coming off of a high. Possibly literally, given what Black Swan kind of came across as in the theater.
With Natalie Portman.
With Natalie Portman, and the MCU sucked both of them up and just, gave them to us in back-to-back films.
But never in the same film.
Yeah, they've never been in the same film. That is correct.
Lady Thor, Winter Soldier movie, let's make that happen.
Winter Lightning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so straight out of Black Swan, right into Captain America. And then, interestingly, right after Captain America, went into Once Upon a Time as the Mad Hatter.
Sang with Disney.
Yeah. Immediately, huge hit with the fans. The amount of Bucky fans really took me by surprise.
To this day, yeah.
I never really thought that Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to be as good as it was. I really thought that was going to be a letdown after the real peak of WandaVision, but it held its own.
Sebastian Stan was so good in that, and even playing all of that pain and hurt that Bucky is carrying after everything he did as the Winter Soldier.
I'm telling you, superheroes in therapy, it is a winning ticket. Honestly, the fact that the fans took to him as well, that they just really liked Sebastian Stan. And then also, there's the whole thing of a bunch of people really hit on the fact that he kind of does also look like a young Mark Hamill.
I was going to get to that. There are a lot of people who are upset that he wasn't playing Luke Skywalker in the final episode of The Mandalorian rather than CGI Mark Hamill.
Can we please stop with... you can put Mark Hamill's voice over. I think Sebastian Stan would be okay with having his voice dubbed over if it's Mark Hamill. So anyway, a couple more people to go through real quick. We have yet another Howard Stark. This is our third Howard Stark we've talked about.
Yep.
This time he's played by Dominic Cooper. He'll show up again if we ever get to the Agent Carter series. Spoilers. Yeah. He's probably best known for his work on Preacher. He also plays the love interest Skye in Mamma Mia and the sequel to Mamma Mia. We have as our guy who injects serum into Steve Rogers. That's Dr. Erskine. Stanley Tucci. He's Stanley Tucci. What you gonna? He's Stanley Tucci. Yes. Come on. He makes Negronis and is bald and shows up in movies sometimes. He's the blue-haired guy in the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger roles, of course, Devil Wears Prada. I really liked him in Julie and Julia, even though the movie was kind of a bit of a mess. He worked with Disney again in Beauty and the Beast, the not great version. And he got us through quarantine by making cocktails and being suave and bald. I don't know. What you gonna do? But yeah, he primarily took this role just because he wanted to do a German accent. It's the weirdest thing ever. But when they were like, "Why did you want to be in a Marvel movie?" He was like, "I wanted to do a German accent. Nobody'd ever let me do a German accent before." We get Toby Jones.
Our other villain, yeah.
Zola. As Arnim Zola. He'll come back in the future. We talked about his father, interestingly, before on the podcast, because his father was a voice in the Black Cauldron. He was Dalman. So we've talked about his father before on the show, Freddie Jones. But Toby Jones, from, once again, the Hunger Games, because everybody's in the freaking Hunger Games. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, right about this same time he was in. He's also very famous for playing Truman Capote in a really good movie. He's the voice of Dobby in the Harry Potter films. He's done everything. You know him. The second you see his face, you're like, yeah, that guy.
Let's get into the movie proper as we flash back to 1942, Tornsberg, Norway, which this city is such a focal point of the MCU because this is the city that the Frost Giants fought the Asgardians back in Thor. It is this where we first see the Tesseract. This is the city where Odin dies in Thor Ragnarok, and it is the location of New Asgard in Avengers Endgame.
Almost as if it were the temporal junction point for the entire space-time continuum. On the other hand, it could just be an amazing coincidence.
Yeah, I kind of wonder why this city specifically was chosen.
Yeah, why did Odin choose this city to hide the Tesseract.
I'm more interested in why this city specifically was chosen by somebody at Marvel/Disney. Like, I want to know the real world. Like, is there a tax break? Did they have like did they go to Norway and be like, all right, cities?
We first meet Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, as he is searching for the Tesseract. He goes over Schmidt here is very obsessed with mythology. He believes it to be real. Again, at this point, Thor had not come to Earth, so these are just legends and stories and fairy tales.
I mean, Thor had to have come to Earth at some point, because we have stories of Thor on Earth. Mm-hmm. But at least he probably hadn't been on Earth in centuries, at least, mm-hmm. at this point. So
there is a fan theory that we did not mention this last week, but in Odin's weapons vault, there is an Infinity Gauntlet. Now, they kind of make a joke out of this in Thor Ragnarok that it's fake, but the fan theory is that Thanos was not the first being to go searching for the Infinity Stones. That maybe Odin was searching for the Infinity Stones and tried to do what Thanos did. And I don't know, snap half the universe away, but there's a chance that Odin may have been collecting Infinity Stones at some point in his life. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the Odin in the Marvel Universe is kind of shady.
Yeah. I mean, given which particular stories you're reading, the Odin in pretty much any story is a little shady.
So we get a very beautiful etching in the wall of the world's tree that is hiding the Tesseract, and we see the Tesseract, and this is the thing that Schmidt has been looking for, and no witnesses, as he just ends up killing everybody. The Hydra is still part of the Nazi regime. They're in this movie. It's explained that they're the science division of the Nazi regime.
Yeah,
creating weaponry, and that's why Schmidt wants the Tesseract to make weapons for the Reich.
The interesting thing is that there is, I can't remember if it's this particular scene. I think it is this particular scene, but when he finds the Tesseract, he says, "And Hitler is still digging for trinkets in the desert."
Yeah, this is the part where he says that.
Which I find hilarious because it is both a real world reference and a very specific nod to Indiana Jones.
So Indiana Jones is canon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah, and it's because this movie was both inspired by Indiana Jones and also had some people working on it who also worked on Indiana Jones. So that reference is very intentional.
So yeah, let's jump ahead to New York City, where we need a very scrawny little man named Steve Rogers.
Can we just mention how they achieved this effect? They used two different techniques. They did a technique where they had Chris Evans film all the scenes, like normal size, Captain America size Chris Evans. And then they used digital technology to basically just shrink every bit of him. Mm-hmm. But then they also used a smaller actor to also go through and film all the scenes after him in case that didn't work. And they kind of shoved the two together.
Leander Dini is the name of this body double actor. So yeah, he pretty much had to mimic Chris Evans's performance to keep so the actors can have the eye line match up to where Steve would be normally. And they actually filmed some of these scenes 3 times. Once with Evans, once with Deanie, and once with no other actor, so they can have a shot to make the digital composite.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate all the effort they went to, because it's really nifty. It's kind of freaky.
They could have gone the easy route and just had the first half hour of this movie be with a completely different actor, and then he'll transform into Chris Evans. But they wanted you to connect with Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. So they went through all this.
He does a really good job of like coming across as the guy who's not very confident, which is really impressive for a guy that's like always looked like Chris Evans looks.
Yeah.
Like, that has to be a stretch. Like, pretend you're a guy that's never been looked at twice by a girl. Like, that's some acting chops, okay?
Yeah.
Never say Chris Evans can't act, okay?
Yeah, so we have Steve. He wants to join the military, but he has all these physical ailments that just will not allow him. They will not allow him to join the military. The instructor even says, "I'm saving your life by rejecting you. If you join the military, you're dead." And he gets dejected because that's what he wants to do. We get a quick explanation that both of his parents were in the military.
Yeah, and his father died in service.
Yeah, and he wants to do his family proud by going into the military himself. Later on, he specifically says, "I don't like bullies, and I don't care where they come from." And he sees the Nazis as bullies, and he's going to take care of them some kind of way. He doesn't know how yet because he's a small, scrawny person, but he's going to try.
Yeah, and you see him rejected again, and he goes to the movies, and he sees the propaganda film that is showing along with the newsreel, and it's, even little Billy is doing his part by picking up scrap metal and, all that kind of stuff, and everybody's got to do their part. You got to figure out your part and everything. And Steve just can't figure out, like, where do I fit in the war effort?
Yeah, he doesn't want to be the guy recycling scrap metal for weaponry. He wants to be in the field. And he just doesn't have the physical capabilities to do that.
I feel you, Steve, Looking at his medical list, I was like, oh man, that looks like my transcript.
All while there's this heckler who just doesn't care about the war. Screw this film reel, screw this, just play the movie, all right, play a cartoon, which angers Steve. The, at this point, very patriotic Steve, saying, hey, show some respect to our men in uniform. And he ends up getting his butt kicked behind the theater, which is the first instance of him showing his future as he picks up a trash can lid to defend himself and saying his catchphrase, I can do this all day.
Yeah, I do like that little moment. And he ends up getting saved by a passerby who happens to be Bucky.
And he sees that Bucky is in uniform. Bucky is about to get shipped out. Sergeant James Buchanan Barnes. And since this is his last night as a civilian before he goes off to war, he's going to take his buddy out on a date with some ladies he knows. And they're going to the 1943 World's Fair. This is pretty much the Stark Expo. We're back at the Stark Expo.
Also, Bucky is such a nerd. Bucky, it is your last night of freedom, and what are you going to do? You're going to go to the science fair and look at the science things. I love Bucky so much.
We find out how much of a nerd he is. He owned a first edition copy of The Hobbit. We find this out in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Dude is a nerd.
Dude is a super nerd. I love him.
We are introduced to young Howard Stark, showing off his prototype of a flying car.
I mean, it's not really so much a flying car as a hover car. It's like it flies like 2 inches off the ground. Come on, the hover car.
For 5 seconds.
Yeah.
This definitely feels like a precursor to the repulsor technology that we would see Tony develop. And the flying car would be perfected because Coulson has one.
Yeah, this really, really feels like where Coulson is gonna pull this out of the S.H.I.E.L.D. archives.
Prototype Lola.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's not wanted by his date, and both of them want to feel up Bucky and give him a wild night before he ships out, he's going to try one more time to enlist.
The conversation he has with Bucky, it comes back into play later, and I do kind of want to mention it.
Oh yeah, don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Can't. You're taking all the stupid with you. When that line is said in Endgame.
Well, that isn't what I meant. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I mean, it comes back into play in a couple of scenes, but Steve says, "Is my life really worth that much more than anybody else's? You know, men are out there putting their lives on the line. Can I really not do the same?" That's really the thing for Steve.
A lesser man would take the rejection and say, "Oh well, I got off quickly. I'm going to go, party and enjoy my life." Or even Bucky says earlier, "You're about to become the most eligible bachelor in New York, and you hate it." Because he's going to be
and that's the way a lot of men would see it. And I'm using men generically here. That's the way a lot of people would see it. Mm-hmm. Here is this awful thing. Boy, am I glad my number wasn't called. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I have an excuse. And Steve sees it as like, I can't ask somebody else to fight my battle for me. There's a bully threatening my hometown. Mm-hmm. I have to be the one to at least step up equally. I don't have to be the hero. I just have to do my fair share.
And that touches Erskine to the point where he says, "You know what? You want a chance? I'm going to give you a chance." And approves him to join the military. Yeah. Moving on to basic training, and we are introduced to their commanding officer, Agent Carter. Which the boys here, the boys here are very disrespectful to, because their commanding officer is a woman, and this is 1943.
And also British.
And British, yes. Because I thought I joined the American Army. What's a Brit doing here? And she quickly shuts him down by punching him in the face. Because that's what you do.
Which Steve is immediately appreciative of, because that guy's a bully.
And she shut him up.
And as
soon as the colonel goes by, he says, "Good work, Carter." So it's the colonel has known Carter enough to not get on her bad side.
Yeah. He's still a jerk, though.
He's still a jerk, but he leaves it all to, hey, he was out of line, you put him back in line.
Yeah. At least he's not a sexist jerk. He's just a jerk to everyone equally.
Yes. These next two scenes really show you the kind of person Steve is as a soldier. Because we have the flag scene where they say where whoever can grab the flag can ride in the car on the way back to base. And no one's brought it down in 17 years. So all the soldiers are climbing the flagpole, trying to get the flag, and none of them can. But it's Steve that uses his brain and just unlinks the support of the flagpole, which causes it to fall, and he grabs the ladder. They never said how to grab the flag. They just said grab the flag.
Yeah, they never said you had to climb the pole. They just said, get the flag.
Which does come back later, not only later in this movie, but later in the series, of how much Steve uses his mind to think of a different way to win the battle. He becomes a great strategist. So even if he wasn't physically able to be a soldier, he could end up technically, possibly, becoming a great battle strategist. At least that's how I walked away from that scene feeling.
Yeah, he really does have a good strategic mind, and probably it makes him a good leader, and it's probably why later in the movie we see all of his battle plans kind of falling into place.
The next scene, though, this is what really cements Steve as the guy to become Captain America. So the colonel and the doctor have a conversation. This 98-pound weakling is the guy you want. You really want him, or you can have any of these other guys. They're perfect soldiers. And Erskine here, he doesn't want a good soldier. He wants a good man. And he believes Steve is a good man, the perfect candidate for this procedure. And the colonel kind of says, this guy, he doesn't have what it takes. He doesn't have the heart of a soldier. I'll show you. And he throws a grenade onto the field. All the other soldiers bolt out, but Steve is the one that jumps on the grenade, telling everyone to leave. He's going to take the hit. His little 90-pound body is going to take the hit of this grenade just to save everybody else. He says later in later movies, the sacrifice play.
The interesting thing is that the colonel makes this play thinking that the guy he's been advocating for is the one that's going to jump on the grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe pick it up and throw it into the woods before it could explode, or, some other
things, yeah.
Saving play. But that guy immediately turns tail and runs and hides.
Yeah.
He's the first one out of there. And it's Steve.
Mm-hmm.
I also like how completely solid Agent Carter is. Because the colonel screams, grenade, and throws it into the middle. All the guys scatter, and Carter does not budge.
In fact, she approaches the grenade, and Steve just stop, because it's just gonna blow. Get away. It's like she knew it was a dud,
Well, yeah, she knew that the colonel would not throw a live grenade into the middle of a bunch of recruits on their, fourth day of training, It's like...
Yeah. But this starts something as Peggy starts to kind of warm up to Steve.
It's interesting the way she looks at him, because it's kind of like you look at have you ever seen, a kitten that's, the runt of a litter, but it's, struggling to walk, but it just won't give up, and you're like, wow, that kitten's going to be a real fighter, or whatever,
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I'm really impressed by you. You may be the runt of the litter, but you're going to be a real scrapper one day. She gives him that kind of she kind of cocks her head a little bit, kind of looks at him like, wow, kitten, you're going to go far. I'm going to call you, Tank or something,
We have this big heart-to-heart between the doctor and Steve, and we get the big... What I've mentioned before about the super soldier serum. It turns what's good great and what's bad worse. But pretty much tells Steve that, whatever happens, don't change who you are. Still be the good man that you are, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to.
And I think that this may be proof, or at least a hint, that Erskine may be the only person who actually knows the I'm gonna call it the X factor to the super soldier serum. Because I have my little pet theory that the super soldier serum, the reason why it ends up having side effects is that it only really takes properly with people who don't want power.
A good example would be Blonsky. Blonsky took a super soldier serum and ended up having that deformed bones in his back.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to beat someone up. He wanted to beat up the Hulk.
And I think that that's the reason why the Hulk only had Hulk powers initially when angry. You know, is that the Banner psyche, it didn't want that. It didn't want the super soldier serum, you know? And that the angry psyche, that's kind of where it went, you know? But yeah, I think that there's a weird psychological factor to the super soldier serum that I think that only Erskine kind of knew. And I think that's why when other people try to recreate it, it never quite goes right. And I think that's why Erskine was so very determined to find somebody like Steve Rogers. I think that what he learned from doing the tests on Schmidt was that if you get the wrong psyche, that, you know, it affects the cells, and that means it has to affect the brain cells too. You know, and I think that's why Isaiah kind of ended up okay in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Is that he wasn't seeking power, he just wanted to serve his country and get back home. He didn't sign up for super soldier serum. He didn't want power. He just wanted to do his duty and get back home. He wanted to get back home to his love, you know. And so his psyche was pure and untainted by thoughts of power. And the same thing for Steve. He wants to serve his country. He wants to do his bit. He wants to go back to Brooklyn. That's all he wants. And so that's why when he takes it, it does kind of a clean transfer.
Super soldier serum must have something on pants, because the Hulk's pants never break when he grows, and neither do Steve's.
Yeah.
Steve's pants seem to expand to his new muscular frame very well as he comes out of the pod, ripped and shredded and in full hero shape.
Anyway, so Steve is standing there and everybody's like, ooh, you're not skinny and short anymore. Yay, serum works. Go Howard Stark. Go Erskine. And then one dude's like, Hail Hydra! And starts killing people.
Starts blowing up the lab, steals one of the vials of the super soldier serum, shoots Erskine, shoots every soldier that he can find, shoots the old lady at the front of the store.
She puts up a good fight first. She grabs a Tommy gun and tries to throw down, but she doesn't get the drop on him, sadly.
And shows you how much of a badass Peggy Carter is. With a car that's about 2 or 3 blocks away from her, with a pistol, one shot kills the driver.
Yeah. If you've never seen me play a sniping video game, that is me playing a sniping video game.
And she does it with a pistol, not with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, I am better with a sniper rifle, but I can occasionally pull that off with a pistol.
Do you think Peggy could have gotten the other guy if Steve hadn't pushed her out of the way? Or do you think she would have been pizza?
I put it maybe 60-40 on Peggy.
So he goes after the Russian assassin, the Hydra assassin, and who steals a cab at the Lucky Star Cab Company, which only is there so we can see Steve holding this door with a star on it, once again showing imagery of his future.
Yeah. And Steve, I wish I knew what was going through Steve's head in this moment, because there has to be a moment where he's running, keeping pace with a car at full speed, and it suddenly hits his formerly asthmatic self that he's like, I am running, keeping pace with a car that is going like 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, I just jumped a fence in a single bound. But, I mean, seriously, there has to be a moment. Is there a moment where he stops and goes like, wait, this is really my body now? And I'm a little sad we don't get that moment with Steve.
He doesn't really have time because, he doesn't really have
even after this scene, we never get a moment where he's just in a room where he just looks at Peggy or somebody and goes like, yesterday I walked up a flight of stairs and had to stop and just wheeze for 30 seconds to catch my breath. And today I chased a car at full speed. Again, superheroes in therapy. Can we just have a moment where Steve sits down and talks to somebody about this?
So he eventually catches up to the Hydra agent, kicks the vial of soldier serum out of his hand, which breaks. But the soldier, the Hydra agent, hits a cyanide pill and kills himself because he's not going to get arrested.
Yeah, and he does that take one head and two more show up thing that all the Hydra people do at this point in the MCU.
As this is going on,
we got to mention my favorite character in the whole movie, which is the little kid that the Hydra agent shoves in the water, and Steve's like, crap, now I gotta save a kid instead of going after her. And he goes to dive in the water, and the kid's like, no, I'm cool, I can swim, go get the bad guy.
Yeah.
That kid is my favorite kid in the movie. That kid's like, no, I'm cool, go get the bad guy, and I know what I'm doing.
So back at the Hydra facility, Schmidt is showing off the new Tesseract-powered weaponry, and it works. But as of this point, Schmidt is separating Hydra from the Nazi Party by killing all of the other Nazis in the room. While
I do respect him for killing Nazis.
But he's pretty much going to do what the Nazis were going to do anyway, just under the Hydra banner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lateral move at best. I am going to bring up something that my friend brought up. I had never thought about this. I'm going to bring it up now. Okay, so this weapon, this disintegrator ray that we see a lot, because eventually they have handheld versions of this. It's a disintegrator weapon, you shoot it and everybody turns into blue goo. The only problem is that the Tesseract holds the Space Stone. And as we know later on, the Space Stone opens portals to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Is this not a disintegrator ray, but is in fact a teleportation device?
So you're saying somewhere in the universe there's a bunch of dead Nazi bodies that just got teleported there?
Maybe some of them aren't dead. Like, maybe somewhere, like, just a bunch of Nazis just showed up on, like, Jotunheim or something and are now just really cold and wondering why they're frost giants or something and are super dead.
What's that planet that Skull ends up on for Infinity War? Maybe they're on that planet.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's how Skull stayed alive. Like, maybe he just ended up there. There were a bunch of Hydra agents and random Nazis and, like, a bunch of really confused American soldiers. And they had, like, a short war. And then, who whoever else was left just kind of formed a civilization.
But yeah, Hydra is now an independent entity and are going to wage war on the entire world, not just America, not just the Allied powers, but all nations all over the world.
Yeah, including Berlin, which is on the Skull's map to attack. Yeah. But now there is a fight over what happens to Steve, because Steve wants to go to the front lines. The Colonel wants him to go to a lab to be tested on to try to make more of him. And Brant has decided that because his little chase down of the assassin has ended up on the front page and driven recruitment up, that he wants Steve to become Captain America and go on basically a promotional propaganda tour to sell war bonds and get people to enlist and all that other kind of stuff.
And it works, as Steve says later in the movie. Every city that he goes to, war bonds and enlistment jolt up immediately as soon as he does his show, and he becomes a celebrity. You know, he does his shows. With that very catchy Star Spangled Man with a Plan song, which that was the one thing I was not expecting to come back for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that was weird. Here's the thing. It's catchy because the music was written by Alan Menken, but it's got the worst lyrics in the world because the lyrics were written by David Zippel, who did Hercules. Yeah, so if you're looking for who to blame, Stu's to blame, and Stu's name is David Zippel.
This is the most comic accurate costume in the MCU at this point.
Indeed. And it does recreate the punching Hitler imagery, which I approve of.
He becomes very popular in America as a mascot. Not so much with the actual soldiers.
They feel like Captain America is making a mockery of them. They're over there putting their lives on the line, and here's some dude draped in the flag doing a song and dance number. Which, I mean, I get it.
Even Cap himself is upset about this, because this is not what he wanted.
Yeah, he feels like a dancing monkey. He's drawing images of himself as a dancing monkey. Yeah.
So yeah, Peggy tries to cheer up Steve, like, you were meant for more than just to be this dancing monkey. You were meant for great things. Erskine saw it. I see it. You could be better. And then they both hear that a troop has been captured, and it turns out it's the 107th, I believe it's what it's called.
107th.
Which is Steve immediately realizes that's Bucky's troop. That was the troop that Bucky was sent off with.
And it's also the same troop that Steve's father served in.
Yeah.
For a double whammy.
Yeah. But yeah, he's going to go behind enemy lines to get his friend back. Steve saves Bucky. There's one thing here that I wish that they had brought back for Falcon and Winter Soldier. There's Bucky saying, "Let's hear it for Captain America." If that had happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier, that would have been perfect.
Yeah.
My only complaint about that final episode.
We get to see Steve's brain at work again. He comes up with these really interesting attack plans that involve this group. But before we get to that, we do have this kind of one moment between him and Bucky in this bar, as Bucky kind of makes peace, I guess, with what has become of his friend. Steve asks if he's willing to come along with the commandos.
Are you willing to fight beside Captain America? Is what Steve says.
Yeah.
And Bucky says, "No, I'm not going to fight alongside Captain America. I'm going to fight along this kid from Brooklyn I knew."
That would never know when to give up on a fight.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that Bucky, unlike everybody else, is completely unswayed by what Steve has become physically. He knows who Steve is inside.
Mm-hmm.
He sees the same thing that Erskine saw, and that Peggy Carter sees. Peggy walks in the most amazing red dress. The first time we've seen her out of uniform, the whole movie, and she comes in and has the most amazing flirt with Steve. Although Steve seems to think that she's dating Howard Stark.
Yes.
And he's trying to respect that, even though you can tell he's hurt by it.
And Peggy is just saying, oh, you don't know how to talk to girls. But it's not really that. It's that in his mind, Howard is Peggy's man, and he's not gonna, do anything about that.
He's being respectful.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to overstep a bound.
We also see Howard experimenting with the pieces of the Tesseract from the Hydra weapons.
Yeah.
Which I've noticed, and I don't know if you noticed, that the Hydra weapons and the Tesseract weapons and all the stuff make the same sounds as though repulsors in Iron Man's suit. So maybe this is the beginning of repulsor technology using the Tesseract?
I don't know. That is an interesting idea.
And this also leads to Steve kind of accepting the kiss from the one Natalie Dormer's character. Because in his mind, yes, she's kind of forward with him and everything, and he kind of doesn't want to kiss her. But at the same time, in his mind, Peggy is off the market.
I'm not even sure he accepts the kiss so much as she kisses him, and if he were to remove her from him, he would probably break her.
Possibly.
I'm not sure that Steve is still used to his own strength at that point, so I think it's at that point he's like, if I physically pull her off of me, I may rip her arms off, and I don't want to do that.
And Peggy is pissed because this whole movie, Steve has said that he's waiting for the right partner to dance with. And in Peggy's eyes, he just flushed that whole thing down the toilet to go with the first floozy that flirted with him.
Yeah. Peggy is not the smartest one, because I think you can tell from his body language that he is not into this.
Mm-hmm.
It is very clear from the way his body is positioned that she is making contact with him and he is not touching her at all. And that is not how you kiss somebody when you want to kiss somebody. That is how you kiss somebody when you are being kissed,
Mm-hmm. Well, finally we get Steve actually figures, finally sets things right with Stark, asks him straight up, are you and Peggy a thing? And he says, no. And he, me and her are not a thing. It's I focus on my work.
I also love that part of this comes from a misunderstanding of Steve just not knowing what the word fondue means.
Fondue me, baby. It's bread and cheese. He does, but I guess he just heard the word "do" and thought it meant sex.
But I like that. Well, he's also a boy from Brooklyn in the 40s, like a working class kid from Brooklyn in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a big fondue consuming segment of the population.
Nowadays, anyone can buy a fondue pot at Target,
Did you know I've never had fondue? Yeah. And I love cheese, so I don't know what's up with that other than I'm poor and I live in the South. Anyway, but yeah, so they do the thing where Stark is like, hello, Mr. Bond, I have a bunch of things for you. Here's a new suit and a better helmet, and here's a shield that is made out of a metal that is completely indestructible. We got it in Africa.
The most versatile substance on Earth, and they made a Frisbee out of it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ultron.
Yeah.
But yeah,
This is
and
what happens when you give white people things.
yeah, he shows up to shield to Peggy. Hey, Peggy, take out the new shield, and she kind of gets her payback from earlier by straight up shooting the shield.
Yeah.
She didn't know that shield was made of vibranium. She just wanted to get her aggression out.
Yeah.
But in a way,
Maybe don't shoot people that, you're angry at. Are we sure she's not American? Maybe at least one parent is American.
she lived in America long enough.
But yeah, so they've equipped.
Part of me feels like Steve kind of deserved it, though. I don't know why, but
Little bit. So they've got Cap equipped, and we get our nice montage of him and his commandos just absolutely wrecking every Hydra base they come across. Yeah, this is an excellent montage because you really see him using his people to their best.
Yeah.
You see, like, the one guy being able to dive under tanks and plant bombs on them and get out of the way before they explode. You see him using ripcords to absolutely just clothesline people. It really is great. You start to see Cap learning to throw the shield and catch it.
Yeah.
Which I like. I love the teamwork in this, and even though you know that Steve knows there are things that only he can do because of his serum, he is not always doing all the things. He knows when to use his people.
And it's a great, the whole montage is really great. And then we finally get to this Hydra train, which apparently according to their intel, Zola is on, and it's going full force to the final Hydra base. And it's now up to Steve and Bucky to get in there, stop the train, get rid of the weaponry, and capture Zola. And at first, things go well, but then the Hydra soldiers kind of jump them. And they blow a hole in the side of the train. Bucky falls. And we'll never see Bucky again. No siree. And it pains him for the rest of this movie. But he keeps on fighting because he knows, he has to finish the fight.
Yeah, the scene where he's in the kind of bombed out bar and he's trying to get drunk and he's lamenting that because of the super soldier serum that his body metabolizes the alcohol so quickly that he can't get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just such a sad scene.
He's trying to mourn and his body won't let him mourn.
Yeah.
And they do capture Zola, though. And this is not pretty much what happened to a lot of Nazi scientists that were captured by the Americans. Pretty much gives him a job working for the Americans.
Yeah.
This actually happened in the real World War II.
And the Russians as well. This is kind of how World War II ended up into the Cold War. Is like we captured a bunch of them, and the Russians captured a bunch of them, and it became kind of an arms race at that point. So Zola ends up being like, hey, I'm a scientist. I don't care if I science for the Nazis or science for you or science for Russia.
Tells him the location of the final base. Tells him what Schmidt's plan is, saying Schmidt's insane. He thinks he's a god. He has the power of the gods, and he wants to take over the world. He wants.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, but the colonel
come up with a new plan.
The colonel tells him, "Well, what's Schmidt's target? Everyone is Schmidt's target. Everyone. He's going to attack the entire world at the same time, and if you want to stop him, you better hurry."
But also, this is a Marvel movie, so he's going to start with New York.
Of course.
Of course.
Because New York and Marvel.
So, of course, they're like, hey, Cap, he's gonna bomb your hometown. And Cap's like, yeah, no, he's not. Get me over there. I want to punch some Nazi face. So off we go to punch some Nazi face.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how are we going to get there because it's going to be fortified. We just can't knock on the front door. And Steve says, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Steve is...
I'm going to knock on the front door with my shield.
But Steve's plan is a pretty good plan, is that he's going to go in alone, purposely get captured, and it's enough to get the other soldiers to just jump the place, which is a pretty good plan. I mean, it can only work in a comic book movie, but it's a good plan.
Yeah, I like that they capture him, they take him straight to Red Skull, and Red Skull's standing there gloating, and he's like, what, you thought you could just walk in? And Steve's like, yeah, pretty much. And then, like, all the other commandos just come in through the window. Yeah, because we got the commandos that are coming in from one way, and then we've got the Colonel and Agent Carter and basically the entire American army coming in from another direction. I mean, they just bring everyone in the area, which I kind of like.
So Skull gets on his plane with all of these missile helicopters that are... He has every major city painted on each and every one of these bombs.
And he also has Hydra people that are apparently going to fly them in a suicide mission to each destination, arming them on the way down.
Yep. Anyway, so Steve, one-man army, taking out all these Hydra soldiers, taking out as many of these bombs as he can, eventually makes it so it's only him and Red Skull. What Red Skull says here, I had forgotten, but now it echoes back into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Red Skull says, I see a future where there are no flags. That's straight out of the Flag Smashers playbook.
Well, I mean, yes, but I think that it's a slightly different flavor to it. I think in Red Skull's kind of flavor of it, it's, I see a future where there is only one flag, my flag. Mm-hmm. And I think in the Flag Smashers flavor of it, there is, I see a future where there are no flags and everybody is equal and there is nobody like the Red Skull giving orders.
True, but
which is a vast difference, you know.
True, but I just had to mention that since again
no,
it's been a while.
It's a good point, but I think it's a very different flavor of. I don't even want to call him the villain because I don't think that ideologically the Flag Smashers are even villains.
So yeah, they have this great battle, and eventually Steve is able to throw the shield into the engine that is the Tesseract powered engine of the plane, which exposes the Tesseract. Red Skull grabs it, and a portal opens up to space, and we'll never see the Red Skull again. No.
Bye.
At least played by Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why they didn't make him sign the 9-picture deal.
I don't think he would have come back. Like I said, he hated doing this movie.
Maybe he learned after The Matrix.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Red Skull has been sucked up into space. We'll see him in about 20 movies.
Yeah, and the Tesseract lands on the floor and then burns through the floor and then burns through the floor under the floor and then the floor under that floor and the floor under that floor and then just drops away into the clouds. Bye-bye. And we'll never see the Tesseract again.
Nope. Nope, we'll never see the test flight again. So yeah, Steve has to make a decision here. And he makes the decision that he's going to crash the plane because there are bombs on it, and he has to find a way to stop these bombs from hitting the shore.
Yeah, and the thing is that the plane is very unsteady. He's not exactly a very good pilot. He radios Peggy, and Peggy says, "Give us your coordinates, and we can find you a place to land." But the problem is, we don't know anything about these bombs. We don't know what arms them. We don't know if they're timed or keyed to a location. Did he miss somebody on board, maybe? There's too many variables. And right now, he's over a place where this plane going down, even if things detonated, it probably wouldn't hurt anybody except him.
Yeah, and he doesn't. He just nosedives that plane while having this very tearful conversation with Peggy, and I'm going to have to take a rain check on that dance. And they're trying to have this conversation that, yeah, we'll see each other tomorrow, knowing that this is it. And, it's, and we see the compass with Peggy's picture in it that has popped up so many times in these movies.
This is still a very emotional scene, even knowing
their future,
everything.
Yeah. Don't worry, Steve. You'll dance with Peggy one day. It'll take you about 20 movies, but you'll get there.
And it'll ruin your entire character arc and make you a complete Richard.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that one day. It may take us years, but we will get to that.
So yeah, and that's it. Steve crashes the plane into the Arctic, and the force of the crash is enough to break the ice, and the plane just sinks into the water.
And everyone abandons Peggy to her grief alone, because the only thing a boomer man can't stand is like being alone in a room with a crying woman. Sorry, the man you love just died. Bye.
Yeah. But everyone is celebrating. It's V-Day.
Yeah.
It's
V-Day has happened. Yes. Victory in Europe Day. Everybody party.
Yep. And somewhere in England, a little boy named Tommy who liked to play pinball is being born.
Yeah. And also somewhere in England, the future queen has snuck out of the castle to go party with the commoners. It's not a joke. That's actually a thing that happened in real life.
But yeah, Future Shield is packing up. The SSR is moving locations. The war is over. They're gonna start focusing, as we see in the Agent Carter TV show, focus more on American threats.
And Peggy is packing up all of the files. She opens a file and looks longingly at a picture of original flavor Steve Rogers.
A picture that she keeps.
Yeah.
Because she still has that picture in the Agent Carter show. That picture is on her desk at S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
That's her Steve. That little scrawny guy is her Steve, and she will keep that picture forever. And the movie proper, I'm pretty sure this is how the movie proper was supposed to end, with a bunch of kids running in the street, one of them having a trash can lid painted like Steve Rogers' shield. They're playing Howling Commandos in the streets, so Steve's memory is still there.
Yeah.
I'm convinced this final part would have been a post-credit scene otherwise. But
yeah.
Fast forward to the modern day of 2010, 2011, whatever time this is supposed to happen, and Steve wakes up to the sound of a baseball game. And he immediately recognizes the baseball game of happening in 1941 because he was there.
And here's my thing that I've always wondered about this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Is Nick Fury testing Captain America, or is S.H.I.E.L.D. a bunch of nincompoops?
Column A, column B, I would say.
Because how difficult is it to go, we want him to think he's waking up after the war. Give me a baseball game from 1941. I mean, it's not that difficult. We have the internet now. It's very easy to go, oh, we want him to think he woke up after the war. Give me a baseball game from 1945.
Yeah.
Oh, get me, like you're telling me nobody in S.H.I.E.L.D. is a cosplayer? There's not a single woman in S.H.I.E.L.D. that's like, her hair is all wrong for 1945.
Or S.H.I.E.L.D. could have consulted with people. These people have connections. They could have consulted with Hollywood costume designers. Hey, are we getting this right? Who knows?
I mean, or call up a single, like, professor of historical fashion or something, you know, or call up your resident vintage fashion person in New York or something. I have to think this is Fury testing how Steve Rogers is going to react. I don't know why he's testing it, for what reason or whatever, but the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. mucked this up so badly is baffling to me, and it always has baffled me. Even in the theater watching this for the first time, I'm like, how difficult is it to get a baseball game from the correct year you want him to think it is?
Maybe just S.H.I.E.L.D. is
I
just that.
can pull that off of YouTube right now. 20 seconds, I can have a correct baseball game. Come on.
So yeah, Steve escapes the S.H.I.E.L.D. base in New York, run through Times Square. We're in modern Times Square, and he's just frozen out of how the world has changed. And there's Nick Fury telling him, hey, you were asleep for 40 years.
70
years. If you were asleep for 70 years, and we wanted to ease you back into the modern world, and we failed. And
then he says, are you going to be okay? And Steve's like, yeah, I had a date, though.
That, I mean, the way Chris Evans delivers that line, he's so heartbroken. Like, he'll never have that dance with Peggy. You will, Steve, you will. Eventually.
Well, you'll have a dance with a Peggy. And you'll be a Richard. But, you know, whatever. We'll get to it. So they got one post-credit scene where Steve is taking out his anger and heartbreak on a punching bag, and Fury's like, hey, I want to save the world. You want to help me? And Steve's like, yeah, sure, what up? And then we get a trailer for the Avengers.
Yeah. How did you feel that day, sitting in the theater, not knowing what the end credits of this thing was going to be like, and then the movie, the post-credit scene is the first trailer for the Avengers?
I mean, kind of cool. In retrospect, it feels a little weak sauce.
I mean, they were technically still filming the movie as they were doing this trailer, so we really don't see a lot, and there's really no special effects. Like, you don't see the Hulk at all in this trailer.
Yeah.
I want to make a mention of the closing credits, how the use of the World War II propaganda posters.
Oh yeah, I really do like that angle. Yeah, because those are some really famous propaganda posters.
Uncle Sam, I Want You. Haley Atwell's name being with the Rosie the Riveter poster. And
they make them kind of 3D and animated and stuff.
Not all of them work. Not all of them work. Some of them kind of look creepy in that style.
Yeah, I'll grant you that.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So let's ask the question: does Captain America, the First Avenger, still have the magic?
Hell yeah! It's got Nazi punching in it.
Not the first of the Nazi punching Disney movies. I mean,
No,
we've got.
It's got Nazi punching in it. Come on.
You could do a whole night of these kind of movies. I believe it's this one, The Rocketeer, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. If you want to have a good Nazi punching night, those three.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to say this definitely has the magic, especially again as a standalone film, as a standalone period piece. Yeah, definitely has the film as part of the entire Marvel universe. Definitely, as it introduces such key points that will become major points later on, not just with Cap, but with the Tesseract and with Peggy and her show and everything, and more stuff with Howard Stark, all of that. So yeah, I think that's all we can say about Captain America: The First Avenger. Next week, we wrap up Fury's big month with the Avengers. We are bringing them all together. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, the Incredible Hulk, and Hawkeye. All together for the first time. This is a movie that a lot of people thought would never happen. And we're going to talk about that next week.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll let Hawkeye get more than 2 lines.
We'll find out. So yes, join us next week as we wrap it up with the Avengers, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Don't let the magic stop here.
Join our conversation online on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic.
Twitter at Rewatch the Magic.
And of course, new episodes every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com.
Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.